Hello, it's Diana Marchand from DianaMarchand.com and founder of Raw Foods Made Simple. And welcome to the video. Today what we're going to do is I'm going to try a recipe for the first time that I saw on Facebook, and it was really cool. It was a quinoa pizza crust. So I'm just going to do the first part of it, which is going to be making the pizza crust, and then I'm going to come back and show you what I put on it and how it turns out. Hopefully if it doesn't turn out well, you won't see this video. So, now, simple, fast ingredients. Oopsie, I can move something that's on the stove, shouldn't be there. Okay, so what it is I've soaked my quinoa overnight. Now it said 8 hours, but I've sprouted quinoa before, so I know you can soak it for longer than that. So the quinoa itself is in here. Now I soaked about 3/4 of a cup of quinoa all night, and then I rinsed it out this morning, and then all day actually, just because I didn't have time earlier. I let it sit like this in a sieve, and then it just drained out because it was super wet when it's first rinsed. So I'm thinking, it would make the pizza crust really wet, the batter. So I let it strain like that all day. And now the only other ingredients that go in it, sorry it's so loud, 1 teaspoon, funny, I don't know if this is baking soda or baking powder. I have baking soda in this one. I thought I had baking powder, so we're going to give it a try. It might be baking soda. Don't know how it's going to turn out. I think it's baking powder. So anyways, 1 teaspoon of whatever that is. Here we go in there. And then it's 1/4 of a cup of water. Now I'm kind of from the belief you start with less, add as you need, because you cannot take out. So I'm adding actually just a little bit less than a 1/4 cup. But I've also let my quinoa dry a little bit, so it's not as wet as it would be if I just rinsed it. Now I'm going to process it, and then you'll see it when it's kind of smoothed out. Okay, well, welcome back. I ended up doing it in my Vitamix. I think what it was doing in my in my food processor was just spinning it around and throwing the little kernels everywhere, and it wasn't really grinding them. Now I'm wondering if you could actually grind dry quinoa in like a NutriBullet in the grindings or in the Vitamix in grinding, and just use it dry and mix it with water. I really think you can. I'm going to try that next. But what I ended up doing was using my Vitamix. Thank goodness I have one. It's still not a lot of batter, so it does get a lot of air pockets. So what I would suggest is if you can use a food processor, just make the batch bigger, like more quinoa, because it would blend a lot better, right? With the 3/4 cup of dry quinoa, it's just not quite enough for the food processor, and even for the big thing of a Vitamix. NutriBullet might have been different. So now you can use, I don't have like a pie plate, which is what it really suggested using. So I'm going to use this. I probably don't need parchment paper, the cast iron, but I'm going to. Anyway, so a cast iron, that's what I'm using. So at first you have the parchment paper on your baking dish, like your pie plate, and then you pour in the batter. And I'm hoping I have enough batter for this size too. It's going to be probably quite a thin crust, but I love thin crusts. And you know what? Whatever. However it turns out, it turns out. And now what I'm doing is I'm just spreading it like around like this and covering the pan, and of course trying to get even, right? It's okay if it's thicker on the sides, but I don't want holes in it. I took it out of the oven, and it's pretty thick in some spots. This is what it looks like. Dun, 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 dun. So I took it out of the parchment paper, put it back in the skillet, and probably maybe even 5 minutes. I can see it. I think it was a little high, especially in the cast iron. Cooks it like way faster. So it's done. It's weird texture, let me tell you. But I'm going to now put a bit of I made a really quick and runny, because it's fresh tomatoes. Tomato sauce thing with nutritional yeast to thicken it a bit. I just added some garlic, some green onions, Italian spice, nutritional yeast, a bit of oil, tiny bit of water, and some cherry tomatoes. Put that on. I have some fresh basil leaves from the farmer's market. I have some cheddar cheese, white cheddar cheese. I have artichokes, red bell pepper, and fresh tomatoes. So it's going to be good. So I'm just going to put it on. And I'm going to be careful. This sauce is so thin, so I'm not going to go right to the edge with it, because I'm putting this in the oven. They showed it without a baking dish underneath it. So instead of spinach, I didn't have spinach, but I forgot. I had this, it's stuff, I can't remember what it's called. It's like little bok choy. So we're going to try that. I don't know what that's gonna taste like. So I'm gonna put that on. Okay, way too many toppings. I get carried away. This is what, look at how thick it is. It's hilarious. Okay, I'm gonna try cooking it, then I'll show you a picture of what it turns out like. Thank you so much, and you gotta give it a try. It seemed like whatever, if it was baking powder, baking soda, it didn't really make much of a difference. We'll see how it tastes. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, now here is what the pizza turned out like. It's just sitting on a plate here. I haven't cut into it yet, but there it is. It looks good.